Hey there, everybody. My name is Danny K, and this is Off Chain, where we talk all things blockchain. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video. I'm going to kind of shoot a little bit off the cuff. I have some notes and a little bit of organization in what I'm going to talk about, but for the most part, a lot of this is just going to be kind of like some opinions of mine and some things that I think about what's happening when it comes to this, which in my opinion has now become a meme. Alt season, when is alt season? Is this alt season? Is alt season going to happen? Are altcoins dead? Things like that. And so that's basically what this video is going to be about. First, let's go ahead and see what, kind of the important people say, like some of the heavy hitters. People like CZ or Arther Hayes, Binance CEO, BitMEX CEO. They basically came out and said that, because a lot of people have been asking, like, what's going on with altcoins? Do you see that this is gonna, they're going to be a 2017, 2018 altcoin bull market again? And, I think that they said that they're positive. They're like positive, but it's going to be a little bit different. So like Arther Hayes said, absolutely, they will rally from the bottom. Will they regain their all-time highs in 2017? I don't think so. Most of them were crap and will continue to be crap. He also added, now, will there be a new type of vertical token or coin or protocol that becomes sexy and it rips? I absolutely think so. Do I know what that is? I don't. And I think he brings up a good point that a lot of the projects and ICOs that we saw back in the day, they really didn't amount to much other than a let's get a couple of people rich quick scheme. The development wasn't good, the coding wasn't good, a lot of it was copy and paste, but he brings up a really good point about there's definitely going to be some winners and there's going to be some new big sexy thing on the block once a lot of hype comes around cryptocurrencies again. What that is, we don't know. We don't even know yet. CZ from Binance basically said, to be honest, I'm pretty confident we will, because I think an industry is evolving. We're now seeing real projects with real money. So in 2017, there's all these ICOs, but now in 2019, we're seeing who has the product. He also added, not every altcoin going up at the same time. There are so many altcoins that there are selective ones that are strong that will go up. So we're going to see more stronger projects go up. And I agree with him, but also at the same time, I feel like his view on it is going to be a lot more biased because now they have, God, why can't I think of the name of it? Not ICOs, but initial coin offerings or IEOs, initial exchange offerings, where the exchange is the hub for a project that they vetted and then allow that community and that project to sell its tokens on their exchange, and the exchange offers basically a public offering. I know Poloniex has done one. Bittrex tried to do one, but then it failed miserably and crashed and burned. And Binance has done quite a few, and a lot of them went up very fast. And they basically, the whole thing with how they now allow their, you need their Binance token to get involved with buying their IEOs. But if you look deeper into, and this is me just going on a weird conspiracy at this point, I do that a lot. Thank you, ADD. But if you look into the distributions of those tokens on a lot of those new IEOs, a large chunk of them are sold off to a third party for whether they call it private funding or interested parties, and they have some other names for it. But essentially, there is the first round of funding where it's going to be the tokens that they sell to investors to raise capital. And then there's going to be a second chunk of coins sold off, usually to the exchange. And they don't say it, and not to the exchange to then sell on the market. It's for the exchange, and I guess they could sell some of it they will sell some on the market, but it's basically like, hey, here's a bunch of tokens for you to have and own. And then they offer the coin up and allow for the exchange. So essentially, you have two parties, two groups of people that own 50 to 60% of any one asset, and then that asset gets put on the market, and then all of a sudden it goes up a whole lot because there's not a lot of liquidity, so the price can rise real fast, and then a bunch of people buy in, and then CZ and the team, they just unload their bags, and that's how and why they're all about IEOs. But that's a total side tangent. I might just edit that out. But regardless, back to the subject at hand, alt season. So yeah, these two seem to be pretty positive on it. If we go to this other one, let me see. Oh, hold on, where is it? Here we go. We have Jeff Doorman, who is a CFA of a very well-known investment fund or investment manager. I can't remember the name of it. Arca. Yeah, Arca, basically, and they hold positions in a lot of coins. But he basically did this really long Twitter post, and I will post it below because it's actually really a great, fantastic read. Basically, he said it's time to stop waiting for alt season. It's not going to come when you think it's going to come, and the longer you sit around and wait, the less likely it's going to happen. And he gives a whole bunch of reasons why. He has a lot of disclosures to explain what he's talking about. Excuse me. But he gets into a lot of categories of what coins are going to do well and what coins he doesn't think are going to do that well. And I'll post this below to get into all of that, and so you can read that. But basically, I think it's important for us to look at and analyze, okay, what happened that caused alt season 2017, 2018 to happen, and how is that the same or different from today's market? And as we all know, the vast majority of alt season took place after December 12th, 2017. That is when Bitcoin hit its top, started dumping, and all that money started leaving Bitcoin, and it started going into the alts. And I think that's a really important distinction to make, because I don't think that a lot of people are sitting here waiting for altcoin season to happen. But Bitcoin season hasn't even begun, right? If you look back to, I don't know, this should have it somewhere. Oh no, it doesn't have the 2014. But if a lot of people don't remember, 2014, it jumped up from, I think, $70 to $1,400, and then crashed back down to $200, and then slowly crept back up to $1,400, where it was at its prior all-time highs, right around here, and that's when people started getting interested again. We haven't even hit our prior all-time highs, so I think that, yes, we're very parabolic, and I think we're going to see a couple a couple corrections, but I have a feeling that we're going to hit 20,000, and we're either going to see a pullback there, or it's just going to rip right through, and people are going to go nuts. I'm not really a financial advisor. Don't listen to me. This is just for entertainment purposes only. But I personally think that we still have a ways to go for when we reach the new all-time highs to then see real altcoin season. And a real altcoin season to me is 10x gains in 30 days. So I think that's really important to realize, is that you got to look at the prior Bitcoin dominance as well. I believe that I have that somewhere over here. I don't know if I have that pulled up, but yeah, so this was the price, Bitcoin dominance, before 2000. Oh, so this is actually that December 7th. It hit a top of 64.35, and that's when it started going down. And currently we are, I think we're at 464. So we're getting there, but I think we're at a different market, and it's not like Bitcoin hasn't been at an 80% dominance before. It has. It was before altcoins really existed, so it doesn't really give a good excuse, but I think it'd be really interesting to see how it shapes out, and I think we're probably going to go higher, but again, I'm totally wrong. Don't listen to my predictions. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So I think too, after that, I think another thing about the prior altcoin run that you got to keep in mind in that time frame was a lot of it was a lot more just basic retail investing as opposed to actual, like institutional investors or well-educated investors, I guess is like kind of a mean thing to say. But if you think about it, there was a big fervor on like, oh, here's this thing and it's going up crazy and we're going to make all this money and it's going to change the world, and people really had no idea what it was, and they just jumped on the hype train because it hit 10,000, got a lot of media coverage, and then everyone started to become quote-unquote rich from crypto. And we don't really see that happening right now. We've hit 10,000 and the media is relatively silent. So I think that's really an important thing to note in terms of the difference from today to back then. Another thing that a lot of people, really, really forget, okay, is all of the forks and airdrops that happened during that time. If you look, here's a list of all the Bitcoin hard forks that happened and all of that money that basically came out of nowhere. And yes, a lot of these are pretty much all of these, except for Bitcoin, is total garbage, right? But that was still money from something out of nothing, right? You obviously had to hold your Bitcoins to get that. But people that had massive troves of Bitcoin now had massive troves of all these other coins, which they probably liquidated or manipulated the market to sell out to back into Bitcoin or US dollars or whatever asset that they actually care about. And because of that, because of the whales that have that extra capital, they have the ability to push prices way higher, as well as the fact that retail investors are thinking, oh, I got this Bitcoin light money or this Bitcoin private money, which I didn't really have to do anything for. It's kind of free money, so I'm going to be more I'm going to be more susceptible to risk and be a little more frivolous with my money. Because if you think about it, if you went and you went to work every day and saved up $5,000, you would take that $5,000 and you would protect it, you would cherish it, you would spend it wisely. But if someone said, hey, here's $5,000, you would say, awesome, I got a bonus, I'm going to go to the club and spend money on bottle service or whatever. Because that's just human nature. That's just how a lot of people are. So I think that, a very important thing to recognize is that I don't think that we're going to see, it could be different because of institutional money, but this influx of what I call quote unquote free money isn't going to be there this time, at least not at the scale that it was. The same thing goes with airdrops. I know that there's still the EOS has airdrops, Stellar has airdrops, stuff like that, but I don't know or think that it's going to be on the same level as it was before. Another thing too that I think is really important to keep in mind, crypto, it was unregulated, but it was unwatched, right? Back then, the SEC in 2016, 2017, they knew of cryptocurrencies, and the IRS knew of cryptocurrencies, and Homeland Security knew of cryptocurrencies, but for the most part, they just thought criminals were using it, and it's going to be this thing to launder money. They didn't realize that, oh, this is going to take on a whole new asset class and be a whole kind of, financial revolution. So they, right now, as you can tell, are scrambling to figure out how they're going to regulate it. Well, I feel like they were scrambling to figure out how to regulate it in 2017, 2018. They know what they're going to do now, but they're just holding off on telling the public until they're secure in their positions, I personally think. But also, too, I think another thing is that the dynamic of the people that were investing in a lot of stuff, a lot of people thought, oh, hey, here's this new tech. We're going to have these big changes, big dreams. We're all going to be rich, right? Perfect example. Who remembers this? Long Island Iced Tea Company soars after changing its name to Long Blockchain. If you don't remember this, basically a company on December 20th changed their name to like Long Island Blockchain or Long Island Ice Blockchain, something like that, and on the public stock exchange. And literally, that stock went from $2.13 or $2.01 to $6, which, that's a 3x return overnight in the stock market, which it doesn't really do that in the stock markets for the most part in a day. And so, a lot of people was just hearing, oh, blockchain, that's the future, buy it, So there was a lot of impulsive and speculative decision making being had back in 2017 and 2018. So with that being said, there is a lot of things going on that are a lot different nowadays with this current Bitcoin rally and how the space is evolving. And I think it's really important to kind of take a look at all of that stuff as well. First, I personally don't think that we'll see much of any type of altcoin action until Bitcoin tops out and drops drastically again, or tops out and stabilizes. The vast majority of altcoin gains come from profits that were generated through Bitcoin and through that free money that Bitcoin hard forks generated, in my opinion. I don't think there were tons of investors coming in and saying, oh, I have $100,000 that I want to spend on Verge, and that's why Verge went up. No, it's people that, had money from Bitcoin and recycled it into alts to find less liquid things that they could use to increase their percentages over time. And I also believe that with this kind of current volume and this current of growth, it personally to me, it seems like it's more of a big money accumulation in Bitcoin, right? It seems like it's going to be a lot more hedge funds, venture capital firms, things like that, even big banks. I feel like we're going to be seeing more and more. There's even speculation that the Federal Reserve and the global central banks are getting into accumulating Bitcoin for the masses. And, a lot of the central banks and Federal Reserves, if that's true, if they are accumulating cryptocurrencies, I can see them accumulating Bitcoin. I could potentially see them accumulate Ethereum, but I can't see them accumulate something like Tron or Verge or even Cardano or Monero or something. You know what I mean? Even the kind of like upper tier altcoins. They're not holding on. They're holding on to number one and number two. And I think that goes also with a lot of the venture capital firms and the brokerage firms that do like investment capitaling or do like hedge funds and investments for large clients. Moving on, I do think that another thing to keep in mind with this new kind of wave that's coming along is that our average retail investor that's stuck around, I call them a veteran retail investor, is a lot more educated. They've been through the storm. They know what it's like to hit and I don't know why I'm picking on Verge today, but I just feel like it. They know what it's like to be hit with something that goes up. God, that's so ridiculous. 1,000% in a week, and then now be right back to basically where it started. God, it is down to 60%. God, if Verge gets to like 10 Satoshis, I'll buy it. Why not? And this is to me a funny thing because Verge even got some kind of mainstream application. I mean, like not mainstream, but it was accepted on Pornhub as a form of payment for their accounts. I don't know if it still is, but This is one that, was used at a retailer, which a lot of other projects you can't say that for, and it got decimated. So I think that a lot of, seasoned veteran retail traders are more informed and educated on what this market is and what these products, protocols, and tokens really are, and what they're trying to serve, and what problems they're trying to solve. Now, that being said, I think there's always going to be the next wave of retail investors, and I'm pretty sure we will see that once all the major banks have secured their positions, and now they can offer Bitcoin into grandma's 401k, and then the mainstream media and MSNBC and CNBC will be like, oh, Bitcoin, it's amazing, and blah, 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 and we're using it, and the Federal Reserve loves it, and Alan Greenspan says, go Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden you're going to see people like Warren Buffett be like, I was wrong on Bitcoin, even though he probably holds Bitcoin. I don't know. I'm a very big conspiratorialist. I think that, people say one thing, but their money does another, especially when it comes to the main financial news outlets. But to get back on track, with that being in mind, getting back to the understanding that they actually have, a lot of investors actually have a better understanding of what these protocols are, what problems that a certain protocol is trying to solve versus just vaporware or a testnet product, right? They're more educated and exposed to, okay, who are the good developers in the space? Who are the good leaders in the space? What exchanges do we trust that have adopted this? What does this project really solve a problem that hasn't been solved before? They're starting to think critically about that, opposed to just hearing some coin and saying, oh, that sounds cool, let's buy it, which a lot of people did. And some people made money and some people didn't, but that's just kind of the nature of these things. I think another huge factor is going to be the SEC and the uncertainty around regulations and what they're going to end up doing. Don't get me wrong, the SEC knows exactly what it's going to do, but it won't let us know until they're ready to let us know. Like I said, in the prior run, there was it was unregulated but unwatched. Right now, it's unregulated, heavily watched. So a lot of businesses are really nervous into making moves. A lot of investment firms are nervous into really getting into some of the lower level altcoins because they don't want to turn around, invest a lot of money into something and find out, oh, well, this is a security, and the foundation that made it violated securities laws, and now they don't have enough money to fight the lawsuit or pay the fine, and they're bankrupt. So I think that is one of the reasons that I think regulation and clarity are monumental in allowing this next wave of altcoin season to happen. But until we get that, I think there's going to be a lot of apprehension on that. Another thing too, and this is just kind of a quick side note, there is a company called Kik, and they released a coin called Kin, a token called Kin, in 2017, and they basically wanted to use their token as a digital ecosystem, and a digital economy for their messaging apps and things like that, and they have billions of dollars and millions of users, and the SEC went after them. And I think that it's very important to keep an eye on this case because with a lot of the other charges for the SEC against other ICOs, they were smaller, didn't have a lot of power behind them, and said, okay, we'll pay the fine, close up shop, or pay the fine and just go about our business. And Kik and the Kin token is not backing down. They are taking the SEC to court. They're trying to fight it. It's unraveling. And new developments happen pretty much on a weekly basis at this point. But just something to keep in mind, this is a case you might want to watch in terms of seeing how that regulation is going to unfold. And I do think, again, this is just a crazy tangent, but I do think that there is some potential in the fact that if this SEC charge in this lawsuit against Kik and Kin end up in Kik and Kin's favor, then we're going to start seeing the beginning of a lot of these altcoins go up. Maybe not in 2017 altcoin all-time high terms, but at least start to say like, oh, okay, well now the door has opened up for us to put money in some of these less like regulated, more uncertain assets because now we have that clarity. I think too, a couple of things that are also going to make a difference in terms of why this altcoin season might be different is margin trading. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, I'll try to explain. So the availability of margin trading has actually grown quite a bit since the time of yesteryear in 2017. And a lot of people, in a lot of that margin trading is on assets that are in the upper echelon or the upper tier of market capitalization, right? You got your Bitcoin, obviously. You have Litecoin, you have your XRP, your Ethereum. I know there's some places that do some of the more mid-level cryptocurrency like Dash. I think there is one for Stellar. It's just there's more options out there, and not just options to do leverage from an alt to Bitcoin pairings like on Poloniex, but there's a lot more places I believe that are going to be margins from altcoin to US dollar, and I think that that's going to be really instrumental in terms of what people do when they decide to pick what they're going to invest and risk their money in, right? Because now, again, we don't have all that free money from hard forks and altcoin and airdrops, so the people are going to be more reserved and conservative about taking on their risk, and so they're going to say, hey, I can put my $10,000 or I can put my $1,000 into random altcoin A, B, C and hope that it goes up 10x, even though it doesn't have a full working project and I only know half the development team and it's only been around for 6 months, versus, hey, I can take my $1,000, put it on 10x leverage, that's $10,000 on Ethereum, and Ethereum only needs to go up 10% for me to double my money. Awesome. That's an asset I know. That's going to be around, and it's an asset I trust. Let's do that. So I feel like even though you still take on greater risk doing margin trading, I think people are going to start calculating and saying, okay, well, I would rather take on this greater risk margin trading on an asset that I know is substantiated and has been a front runner in this industry versus putting money into some new ICO 2.0 in hopes that it moonshots, So I think that's something that not a lot of people have been kind of thinking about when it comes to how money is going to flow through this system come 2019, 2020. And also, too, I think the last thing really about the difference that I think is going to happen with this quote-unquote altcoin season is that we don't know how it's going to take shape, right? So in 2014, it was the big boom of cryptocurrencies, right? There was, there was Bitcoin and Litecoin. I think like Darkcoin, which then turned into Dash, was a thing. But then all of a sudden, all these people started making, Potcoin, Pandacoin, Dogecoin. Rep to my Doge people. I love you guys. All these different types of actual cryptocurrencies, right? And then we started to see like the blockchain 2.0s with the Ethereums follow right after that. And that kind of was one of the things that sparked the big rally in 2014. Then you see 2017, you see hard forks generated all this out of nowhere capital on top of ICOs being this new thing to invest in the new coin, get in on the ground floor, make 100x your money. And that was the catalyst that drove the market for a while. And no one saw the new cryptocurrencies come about in 2013. They didn't anticipate it until it was happening. Same with ICOs. And now I feel like the same thing is going to happen when it comes to the next big bull run of altcoin season, whether it's going to be ICOs or it's going to be SEOs or it's going to be tokenized equities, or it could be something that's not even invented yet. It could be something totally different and has yet to emerge its face into our community and our ecosystem, and all of a sudden you won't realize it, but you'll be in the middle of altcoin season because of this new product all of a sudden catapulted everyone's returns 10 times. And that's what I think is kind of really cool about this space, is that it's constantly changing and it's constantly evolving. Now, yes, I know a lot of people are here for the money, but don't disregard the tech. The tech is actually really cool, and those projects that are actually sticking around and doing some notable work, I think are really interesting and are really going to make some great impacts into our society in the future. But yeah, with that being said, that's kind of my view on the differences between altcoin season then and now, and how I think it's going to kind of shake out. One last thing I want to take a note on is a little thing that I noticed when I was kind of looking at some of the charts of the Bitcoin capitalization and the price back in 2017. So here I have a chart. This is just an expanded view of the price chart on CoinMarketCap. This is just the price of Bitcoin from November 27th to January 11th. That doesn't matter, but here we take a look and we see that the price topped out on December 17th at, we're calling it 20,000. If we go to market capitalization, right? Same thing. Here's October through February or whatever. It's not that important. What's important is this area here. You look and you see Bitcoin dominance topped out on December 7th at roughly 66%, roughly, right? And then you saw the pullback. So let's go to the price on December 7th. December 7th, where are you? December 7th, right? There's the peak. Same with the 66% dominance peak. We see a pullback in price right here to December 10th down to, wow, it dipped to 13,000 from 18. Yeah, that makes sense. Dipped down to 13,000 on the 10th. We go to the 10th here. On the 10th here, we look and we see, yep, just as you expect, dipped down to 60%. We see a little bit of a pop, 63 on the 11th, and then a tank all the way down, even past up to the 17th, which, if you remember, the 17th was the date of the all-time high. So you'll notice it's very short, and you can only catch it in a few days windows, but there's a very clear divergence. From here, price went up a little bit, from here, on this date, dominance went up a little bit, but could not be sustained and started tanking. And then Bitcoin's price diverged and kept going up, even though dominance went down. And then you started to see the big sell-off after that divergence happened for a couple of days. And so that's just not, that's not a tell-all sign. That's not saying, oh, when you see these two charts contradict each other, start getting out of your position of Bitcoin. It's just one thing to keep in mind when you're doing your own research and your own analysis. But I think I've talked my ear off enough and talked your ear off enough. If you found any of this information useful or enjoyable, please give it a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Again, this is a new channel. I'm working on different types of formats of videos to see what I will gravitate towards. If you found this information useful, please share it on Reddit, Facebook, 4chan, whatever. I really, really appreciate it. Again, my name is Danny K. This is Off Chain. Thanks for watching.